everyone, we're from English department of Universitas Erlangga, and now we're gonna talk about the elements and the types of poetry. And here are the name of the members of the group. The first is Amelia Waqidatuzzarima, the second is Syahra Salsabila, the third is Yowana Andan Mayoreta, the fourth is Rifqi Vaian Fadhlullah, and the last is Yasyfa Nida Saffanah. First of all, let's talk about several basic elements of poetry.
The first element that I want to tell is stanza. Stanzas are basically the poetic equivalent of a prose paragraph. They are a series of lines that are grouped together and separated from other groups of lines or stanzas by a skip line. This is composed of a series of lines that are grouped together to form the structure of poem. Stanzas come in a variety of lengths dependent either on the whim of the poet or the convention of a particular poetic form. There is a variety of technical vocabulary often used to refer to stanza of specific lengths. Here, the most common of these stanzas of 2 lines are called a couplet, 3 lines are called a tercet, 4 lines are called a quatrain, 5 lines are called a cinquain, 6 lines are called a sextet or occasionally a sextain, 7 lines are called a septet, 8 lines are called a octave. So, in the second element, I want to tell about rhythm. Rhythm is the pattern of stressed and unstressed beats, although commonly found in a poetry. It can be also found in some drama and prose work. Rhythm can be analyzed by determining the number of lines in a poem, the number of syllables in the line, and the arrangement of the syllables based on their nature, short or long, stressed or unstressed. There are 5 main rhythms in English poetry. They are lamp, turkey, sponde, tactile, and anapes. Lamp consists of 2 syllables, one unstressed syllable followed by an unstressed syllable. Turkey consists of 1 stressed syllable followed by 1 unstressed syllable. Sponde consists of 2 syllables that are consecutively stressed. Tactile consists of 3 syllables. The first syllable is stressed and the other 2 are unstressed. Anapes consists of 3 syllables. The first 2 syllables are unstressed and the last syllable is stressed.
And then the next element is imagery. What is imagery? Imagery is the use of words to convey vivid and concrete sensory experiences. Or simply, we can say that imagery is the painting of a vivid picture in mind. Imagery draws on the 5 senses, namely the details of the taste, sight, touch, smell, and sounds. And here is the example. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. This poetry titled Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. And the next is the symbolism. Symbolism means to imbue objects with a certain meaning that is different from their original meanings or function. Authors use symbolism to tie certain things that may initially seem unimportant to more universal themes. And one notable example is in Joseph Conrad's aptly titled Heart of Darkness, when the darkness of the African continent in his work is supposed to symbolize its backwardness and the possibility of evil. The other element of poetry is metaphor. Metaphor is a figurative analogy or comparison between 2 things where the comparison is indicated directly without like or as. For example, in a poetry titled Fire and Ice by Robert Frost. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire.
Hello everyone, And then the next slide is about simile, and simile is a sentence that contains elements of parables and comparison using conjunction. And simile, like comparing one item to another, usually use several conjunctions like, namely the first is like, the second is as, and then the third is for example, and then the fourth is as appropriate. And there are two types of similes, including the first is comparison. This type of comparison simile is as the name implies, which is to compare two different things in a sentence. And then the second is parable. Meanwhile, for parable simile, which is to compare something by using one of the conjunctions listed above. And here are other functions of simile. The first is for comparison, and second is to make something clear or easy to understand, and the third is forming a person's image, and fourth is to understand what is read and heard, and fifth, to make the work interesting descriptively, and the last is for humor. And examples of using similes in their own sentences are: the first is, her heart is as good as Snow White. And second is, what the representatives of the people told about today is as funny as a clown attraction. And the third is, my life since knowing Ria is so beautiful color like a rainbow. And the last is, Addie's walking is very slow like a turtle. And the next slide is about rhyme. Rhyme is the correspondence of sound between words, especially when these are used at the ends of lines of poetry. Two words that end with the same sound are said to rhyme. For example, words like light and night share the same ending. Those are rhyming words. Rhyme is often used in poetry to lend a pleasing effect to poetry, which makes it enjoyable. And the next is, rhyming words also help us to memorize. This is why many nursery rhymes use rhymes. For example, twinkle twinkle little star, how I wonder what you are. And the next is, rhyme is common literary device employed in poetry. It renders poetry a typical symmetry and makes the recital of poetry a pleasurable experience. For example, is, once upon a midnight dreary, while I ponder weak and weary.
And the second topic is the types of poetry, which are consist of two types. Those are open form and closed form.
What is open form? Open form is very free. It doesn't have to follow traditional or specific patterns. This style of poetry may not follow any rules at all, or it might use small elements of traditional form of poetry. When looking at open form, poem consider some of the structural ideas, such as rhythm and rhythm.
Closed form. Writing in closed form, a poet follows some sort of pattern, such as that of a sonnet with its rhyme scheme and its 14 lines of iambic pentameter. On a page, poems in closed form tend to look regular and symmetrical, often falling into stanzas that indicate groups of rhymes. Closed form gives some poems a valuable advantage. It makes them more easily memorable. The epic poems of nations, long narratives tracing the adventures of popular heroes, the Greek Iliad and Odyssey, the French Song of Roland, the Spanish Cid tend to occur in patterns of fairly consistent line length or number of stresses because these works are sometimes transmitted orally, sung to the music of a lyre, or chanted to a trumpet. They may have been easier to memorize because of their pattern.
That's all of our presentations, and thank you so much for watching this video, and we hope This presentation will help you to learn about the poetry. Thank you so much and see you again.